For decades, this dark mystery just hung over the beaches of Long Island, New York. A string of unsolved murders, a suspected serial killer, and just families left with no answers. Then, in 2023, a really stunning arrest turned one of America's most infamous cold cases completely on its head, and it revealed a suspect who was, believe it or not, hiding in plain sight.
And we're not talking about some phantom lurking in the shadows. As investigators would soon discover, the man they believe is responsible for so much pain was a commuter, a family man, a neighbor. He was someone who, for years, just blended right in.
So, the big breakthrough finally happens in July 2023 with an arrest that sent absolute shockwaves through the quiet suburban communities of Long Island.
The man taken into custody was Rex Heuermann. This was a guy who'd worked in Manhattan since 1987, lived with his wife and 2 kids in a quiet suburb, and by all accounts was just another face in the crowd.
But the man that authorities are describing? Well, he's someone else entirely. As of late 2024, Heuermann has been charged with the murders of 7 women. Investigators allege he was living this secret life of horrific violence. And for the record, he has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges.
So, how did this whole thing even start? To really get the breakthrough, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. And this story, interestingly enough, doesn't start with a hunt for a serial killer, but with a search for a single missing woman.
Back in the spring of 2010, police were actually looking for a woman named Shannon Gilbert, a 24-year-old escort who had vanished after making a really frantic 911 call in the Oak Beach area. Her disappearance is what triggered the search, but what they ended up uncovering was something so much more sinister.
Okay, so fast forward 7 months into the search for Gilbert. It's December 2010. An officer and his canine partner are combing through this dense brush along Ocean Parkway when the dog alerts him to something. It was the first of many human remains. And just like that, a missing persons case turned into a hunt for a serial killer.
And it didn't stop there. Within days, they found 3 more bodies nearby. They would become known as the Gilgo 4. All of them were young women who worked as escorts, and their discovery pretty much confirmed investigators' worst fears. They weren't just looking for a missing person anymore, they were looking for a predator.
And the cruelty of the killer, it was just unbelievably brazen. After one of the victims, Melissa Barthelemy, disappeared, her 15-year-old sister started getting these vulgar, taunting phone calls from a man who was using Melissa's own cell phone. It was a chilling detail that would haunt this investigation for more than a decade.
So, finding the Gilgo 4, that was really just the beginning of this whole nightmare. As more and more remains were found, the case just got more complex, but a suspect remained completely elusive. The case went cold, leaving behind this cloud of fear and frustration.
And just look at the gaps in this timeline. It's wild. After the first discoveries in 2010 and 2011, the case just stalled. Years and years went by with very little public progress, even as new pieces of evidence like a leather belt with some initials on it were being analyzed behind the scenes.
So you have to ask, why did it take so long to make any progress? Well, one of the biggest reasons cited was some serious internal friction. The local police chief at the time, a guy named James Burke, reportedly resisted letting the FBI get involved for years. And that's a move many believe critically hindered the investigation, cutting off access to federal resources and expertise, until he finally resigned and was later convicted on totally unrelated charges.
Okay, so after more than a decade of hitting dead ends, what was the thing that finally changed everything? Well, a new task force with a fresh set of eyes, armed with modern technology, was about to connect all the dots.
The big break really came from this incredible mix of old-school police work and brand-new science. Investigators went back to an old tip about a specific kind of truck, a Chevy Avalanche, and that's what led them to Heuermann. Then they dug into old burner phone data, which they say connected him to the victims. But the final piece, that was DNA. A pizza crust he threw away in a public trash can in Manhattan allegedly provided the genetic link to a single hair found with one of the victims.
Look at this. This comparison paints an unbelievable picture of the 2 worlds authorities allege Heuermann was living in. On one side, you've got the family man, the suburban architect, and on the other, the man they accuse of using burner phones, searching for sadistic material online, and timing these horrific crimes for when his family was out of town.
But here's the thing. Arresting Heuermann wasn't the end of the story. Not at all. In fact, it kind of blew the whole investigation wide open.
forcing police to look back much, much further than anyone had initially suspected.
All of a sudden, the timeline of these alleged crimes just exploded. Heuermann wasn't just charged with the Gilgo 4 murders from the late 2000s, he was also linked to killings like Sandra Castilla's, which happened all the way back in 1993. This revelation suggested an alleged killing spree that could span 3 decades.
And it's really crucial to remember this. That whole Gilgo Beach area, it seems it was a dumping ground for more than just one killer. Of the 11 sets of remains that were found, police now believe some are connected to separate cases entirely, which just adds another layer of tragedy and complexity to this whole story.
And that really leaves us with a question that still hangs over all of Long Island. With one chapter possibly closing, will the families of all the victims, not just some of them, finally get the answers they have been so desperately seeking for decades?